Good Monday night. This is October the 10th, 2021. This is Granny's Old Hands coming to you a second week. Wow. Talk about a blessing, if I can use that word. This past week, guys, you showed up. The numbers are up. The subscribers are up. And Granny is a happy camper with her hands up. A couple things I'd like to share with you before we get started tonight. I did check to make sure for those of you that don't have the book, they do still have it at Amazon.com. They have it at authorhouse.com. I forgot to mention last week in my excitement, or maybe I did. I self-published through Author House, and I did make contact with them this past week, and they still have it. So if you want to use Amazon.com, please feel free to get the book. If you want to use Author House, please feel free to get the book. I am just so excited. I'm speechless. Seriously, I am, because if you guys read the comments, we've been so fortunate to touch the lives of persons, sharing our story about Granny's old hands. A couple of more things before we start reading tonight. I'm so glad that you could join me. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. Yay for Granny, 71-year-old Granny. Yay. Just, it's amazing. It is amazing, and I am eternally grateful, and I don't use that word loosely, that people would follow Granny and her old hands. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, with that said, I'll try my best to not look down as much. Uh, I got to find a way so I can keep level eye contact with you guys, because I know that that is important. It's important to me. But anyway, remember what I told you last week? Granny needed help. So here's help. We got our help again. We stopped off. We had my son and I, we were on our way back to Michigan, and we're going to start where we stopped off at. We're going to go to the sentence above. For those of you that have the book, if I go off script, I'll try and let you know that this is not in the book, so you don't say, "Oh, Granny, we were lost. We didn't know what you were talking about." I'm gonna try to stay as close to the book, and if I do interject some extra things, I'll try and look up and say, "Ooh, this was not in the book." But this is where we left off. It says, and I'm gonna just elaborate on this. The other drivers knew nothing regarding my situation. They did not know my story. They didn't know what Granny was attempting to do, but they had a right to be on I-75 heading back to wherever, just like myself and my son. And so here we go. It's been said many times that love knows no fear and unconditional love has no boundaries. And grannies, you're out there, moms, you're out there, and even maybe some dads out there. Love has no fear, especially when it comes to your child, your grandchild, even your parents. Love has no fear. Wow. I had proven that to myself with this trip. My son and I headed back home, my grandson having the last laugh. That joker would not be born while I was there. He probably still laughing at me today because of that. It said, even though he didn't arrive during my visit, 5 wonderful days later, he chose to make an appearance on March 21st, 1993. From that day to this one, he's been revealing his thoughts and concerns to his granny, sometimes profoundly and sometimes with just everyday talks that cause me to ask God for his guidance so that when I provide the answer to my grandson's questions, he walks away informed. I'm going off script, guys. I've always tried to tell him the truth. I have always tried to tell him the truth. And to this day, he knows that my heart is in doing what's right, saying what's right, even though I've made so many mistakes, grannies. I've said things out of context. I've said things that I had no business saying. I even said things that I had to go back and look up and make sure, because when you speak into persons' lives, words have power. And my grandsons and my granddaughters and my nieces and nephews, they're very important to me, and I don't ever want to mislead them. And so I try and make sure if he asks me something, if I don't know it, this hand goes up. Seriously, this hand goes up, and I have to ask either God for his wisdom or I have to ask for directions, because, again, words have power. Okay? Wow. Mm, mm, mm. I can truly be thankful for my old hands that continued to ache in the cold months during Michigan's bitter winter season. Old hands that sometimes find it difficult to twist the tops off of jelly jars and pickle jars. Don't forget, I love pickles. Old hands that worked in the steel mill in Gary, Indiana, early in life. And I did. I was an inspector, female inspector in the steel mill um, in the 70s. You already know I'm 71 years old, but back in the 70s, I worked in the steel mill. I won't call the name of it, but I worked in the steel mill, and my hands cramped because I had to take a steel mill gun, and take the seams out of the bars of steel. Never would have imagined that. Had you told me that when I was a little girl coming up, I would have laughed at you, because most of you know, originally I'm from Gary, Indiana, and it was surrounded by steel mills, and I worked as an inspector, a female inspector in the steel mills. And I think about some of the things that my hands have done. Uh, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Old hands that clean the toilets in the homes of my high school counselors while her children watch the Saturday morning cartoons. And yes, my old hands that will continue to thank God for my grandson's revelation. Now, Saturday mornings, I went to high school, and you'll find this out if you stay with me on the journey. And I was so desperate to have some type of employment while in high school. It wasn't like it is now. You weren't making $15 an hour to work at McDonald's, Burger King. We didn't even have a Whopper back then. Back in the 70s. This was back in the 60s, because I was in high school from 1965 to 1969, and on Saturday mornings I would get up and I would catch the bus to this counselor's home, and she would pay me to clean her home. And she had kids. It's not her fault that her kids didn't have to clean, but Granny's old hands, even back then, I was cleaning. I was cleaning. My life has changed since that conversation with my grandson. I take the time to appreciate those things about myself I had locked away in the secret chambers of my heart and soul, and untouchable to those on the outside, because I knew all too well how to camouflage my feelings. Have any of you been like that? I'm going off script, it's not in the book. I learned early in life how to camouflage my feelings. I'm trying to stay on course and on task, as we tell the kids, but when you're in foster care, and I speak about this in the book, I don't want to give it away. I learned how to hide what I was really feeling, because it wasn't the best situation for this granny to be in. And any kid that's going through, I believe, we learn how to camouflage. And I did that. I learned how to camouflage my feelings, okay? And I had them tucked away in my heart and soul, untouchable to those on the outside, because I knew all too well how my desires and the chances I should have taken on myself way before my grandson's revelation. I wished I had learned earlier in life, uh, grannies, that it was okay to love me. I didn't learn it early in life. This trip, my son and I made this trip. I didn't know that it was okay to love Celeste. I had no idea what that entailed. And so I hid a lot of things. And as a result, like I said, some persons, when they see the title, uh, Granny's coming out of the closet, they get excited. And I'm thinking, excited? I mean, what kind of closet was I supposed to be coming out of? But as you read the book, and stay with me on this journey, you'll find out that all of us have closets that we've tucked things away in, and it's comfortable. until one day when you get a grandson that um, whets your appetite, when you get a son, or even it could be a friend that says, Celeste, it's okay to love you. It's okay. It really is okay. Now I am out of the closet, living and enjoying the small stuff. You may say, what's the small stuff, Granny? I'm off the script and I'm trying to be obedient to my word. I don't want to keep you long, but what's the small stuff? Do you guys know? You're going to know because I'm telling you. I did not wear, some of you, you're going to date yourself, paddle pushers, paddle, the shorts that came down to your knees, paddle pushers, whatever those things were. I didn't begin to wear those till I was in my late 40s because I thought if I wore them, I was going to go to hell for sure. I'm going to hell because I got these short pants on and they're above my knee, and God is going to strike me down because at that particular time, I told you guys earlier, our mom read Revelations to us, and I was so scared. I didn't want to do nothing. Nothing. I was in my 40s, and man, that felt good not having to wear those long, ugly pants back in the 60s and 70s. But I brought me some, and he didn't strike me down because I'm still here today. It says, now I'm out of the closet, living and enjoying the small stuff. When I look at my old hands, I'm amazed each and every day at the territory I have covered with them. And in spite of how they look, I can still say they are my hands, and to God be the glory. Now, I'm coming off script, but this is going to bless you guys. I even mustered up the courage to have my nails done for one of my daughter's weddings. And on top of that, I now paint my toenails. And I didn't stop there. Old sister girl brought some colorful eyeshadow. I did. Only to have one of my daughters put it on for me, but that's okay because I'm having the blast of living with my old hands. I've learned from a church mother that it was okay for me to wear lipstick. And please don't laugh. Don't send me a comment and say, how is that possible? I'm off script. Those that have the book. I like cherry jubilee red lipstick. I I I love it. I buy 2 or 3 tubes at a time, and I wear it because I'm thinking, man, that looks nice. Granny, where have you been? But it was a church mother, and I won't call her name. And she said to me, you are a beautiful African American woman. Notice what I said. She said, woman. I was a grown woman. I was afraid to wear lipstick. And you may say, how is that possible? Because when I came along, we were told certain things that we couldn't do. And so I didn't do them. Seriously. I did not do them. I said this in the introduction, and I didn't share all of the introduction. Those of you that have a book, I had a play mama, a lady that kind of like adopted us. And when I would go to her home, I love orange juice. I'm off script. I love orange juice. And so, because when you come out of the situation that we came out of, there were 9 of us, and we did go to foster care, and so you're not as free to open somebody else's refrigerator and get what you want. So anyway, my play mama, she's gone on to be with the Lord, and I'll say her name because you guys don't know. Her name was Dean. I remember this particular weekend we were at her home, and she had a big gallon of orange juice, and so for me, I'm thinking I'm gonna get me a glass full. Man, I filled that glass up, and she said, "No, no, no, you don't do that." And I'm thinking, it's just orange juice. But she taught me the respect that you have when you're at somebody else's house. To this day, I won't fill a glass up full of orange juice. Now I may do it half full and go back, but to this day, after that lesson, I thought, I'm 71, and I still remember what my play mama said. You don't do that, and so I even respect my home when it comes to orange juice. My grandkids and my kids laugh at me, and they're thinking, "What are you doing?" And I have to be like this. There's so many things that we all can come out of the closet with. I'm still off script, guys, just little bitty things that you take for granted that you probably don't even think about. But this journey helped me come to understand some of the bondages that I had set for myself. Okay. But that's okay because I had a blast living with my old hands. What a wonderful feeling to know that you really can be okay. Grannies, you can be okay even at your age right now today. Make a decision that you want you to shine and come forth. Make a decision that you want to get rid of baggage that you've carried. Make a decision that you got to come out of that closet because I was in it for so long and it's miserable. That's not where you want to be. That's not the best place for you to be. It's not even a healthy place for you to be. No matter what you experience as a granny, it's about the choices you make and your perception of how you view yourselves. I'm going to read that again. Please, grannies, hear me. No matter what you experience as a granny, it's about the choices you make and your perception of how you view yourself. I have decided at this junction in my life, and we're only in chapter one, we're getting ready to end chapter one. I have made some mistakes when it came to me. I sold myself because I didn't love myself. And what I mean about that, I wouldn't wear loud colors because I thought I was too dark. I wouldn't wear pastel colors, so I wore dark colors. I wouldn't wear lipstick, as I said earlier, because I thought, nah, you can't do that. I just hid myself. I would wear my clothes too big, they would be too dark, and it was like I wasn't really happy, but I thought that was the best for me. Once I discovered, Granny, besides raising my hands, that it was okay, once I discovered that my perception of me had to change. And it didn't just start when I took this trip with my son, it started way back then. But, excuse me, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have anything to relate to, didn't have anybody surely that I could actually say, this is what I'm feeling because people think they look at you and you smile. Ah, she's telling a joke and they think you're okay. Hear me good. The choices you make, grannies, and the perception that you have about yourself will determine, like it did for me, and like it's even doing for me. I told you the last reading, I was having a pity party. And I'm thinking, girl, what is wrong with you? You have food. You live in a home that's yours. And don't knock me down. You have toilet paper. You stocked up on stuff a year and a half ago. It wasn't until recently that I had to even go back to the store because there's two of us here in the home, my spouse and myself, so we don't eat a lot. And I'm thinking, you sitting here in this room in the dark. I was in the dark having a pity party. And when the Lord spoke to me and said, you're your worst enemy. Have you ever had him tell you that? And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? When I looked up on that wall and saw Granny's hands in that frame, he said, it's time to bring the book back out. And I'm thinking, bring it back out for what? We tried that. And that was the key. We tried it. You didn't let him try it. So I thought, what the heck am I supposed to do? And I promise you, step by step by step, I promise you, I had to get quiet because I thought people gonna think I'm crazy, guys. This was published in 2006. As I said earlier, it did well. I've had it reprinted 3 or 4 times. You pay money for that. I had a friend that edited it, and she did the best she could do. I didn't know anything about writing a book. I was self-published, but when my grandson said to me, "Dang, Granny, your hands are old," and I told you, the tears came, and I looked at him, and I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. They are old, and so the Holy Spirit, and I won't lie, said, tell where your hands have been. And I'm thinking, tell where my hands have been. And so again, this is how this came about. We're almost at the end, okay? What a wonderful feeling to know that you really can be okay, no matter what you experience as a granny. It's about the choices. I read this 3 times. It's about the choices you make and your perception of how you view yourself. Grannies, come out of the closet and say to yourself, I'm the best thing smoking this side of the Mississippi River. There are many closet doors I had to shut, and there were many I had to open so I could enjoy what was on the other side. Grannies, all things are possible if you believe in God and yourself. Listen to your grandsons as they pour their hearts out to you in those small conversations. and your life will change. To this day, I still have conversations with my grandson. Even my son Michael, I mentioned him earlier. I still have conversations with the both of them. I have conversations with persons that can speak into my life as a granny, because grannies, we have wisdom. Granny, we hold the secrets that most people have just kind of forgot about, because, as I said earlier, our world is changing so fast. And grannies, we can still make a difference. We're not too old. We're not too broke down. Regardless of how you hold your hands, the position that you take, these young people need us. They need our wisdom. They need our guidance. And some old people have made wrong choices. And it's not for us to badmouth them or make them feel bad, but help them come out of their closet. You don't know what the closet may be, because we don't always let people in. We don't always tell people that we're hurting. We put on a good face. As I said earlier, we camouflage. And some of us have done it so long that when people look at us, they think we're okay. Now, believe it or not, grannies, that is the end of chapter 1. I told you I wouldn't stay before you long. I just want to remind you that the book is still at Amazon.com. It's at Author House. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Thanks to my grandkids, we're on Instagram. And you, uh, please don't forget to hit the share button and hit the subscribe button. And just tell persons we don't read a long time. I promised I would not keep you a long time, but I wanted to whet your appetite so you would know that it's okay to be okay, Granny. You would know that if you just wrap your arms around yourself and tell you, whatever it takes, I'm coming out of this closet. I want every granny that's listening, every young person that may be listening, every even a man that may be listening, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And once you realize that you are something special, and you start coming out of the closet, you start those perceptions that you have. And this is not church. This is not church. This is a book reading. But you get rid of those perceptions. And regardless of what somebody says about you, I know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And once you grab a hold of that, grannies, and you start releasing your hands so you can lift your hands up, and the Creator Himself will make a way for you to come out of the closet and stay out of the closet. Stay out of the closet. With that said, we have had a good time. I thank you so very much. I look forward to reading again with you next week, grannies. Remember, every Monday night at 8 o'clock, we will be reading. This has been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you. And grannies, come out of the closet. I can't say that enough. When people ask you, where have your hands been? Tell them. Tell them. Some of us did the cotton field. Some of us worked hard. Let people know where you've been. This is Celestine Starks with Granny's Old Hands saying, this is real. We're going to keep it real. And like I said last week, we will do this, grannies, together. Good night. See you next Monday night. Be sure that you share and be sure that you subscribe. Thank you so very much. This is Granny saying good night.